Setting goals is something that we're always told to do, but never really taught how to do. So today I wanted to kind of go over on the, at least in my opinion, best way to set your goals in a way that actually allows you to meet them. But before that, hello everyone, welcome back to my atelier. I hope you're doing well. Today we'll be going over setting art goals for 2025. I both want to share my goals as well as how I kind of structure them in a way that makes them more tangible for me. I hope this year has been kind to you. I've certainly had a bit of a roller coaster, and that's not going to stop until, 9 months later when I'm all settled in college and stuff. So, yeah, but it's been a nice year nonetheless. I think there's something to learn from all the experience that we have in life, but let's put all the yap aside and get right into it. There are a lot of different kinds of goals when it comes to art, but some of the ones that I tend to hear a lot is, I finally want to start my webcomic, or I want to draw every single day, stuff like that. And while I don't necessarily think that those are bad goals, I think that the inherent problem with these is that they're too broad, which makes them seem like such a huge impossible task. And if you just set them generally for 2025 or any year, you'll just end up pushing it off and never really approaching it properly. So here's the thing. I'm actually not a big fan of setting goals for the year. I think a year is way too long of a time span, and so many things can happen in a year that just, might interfere with things. So I tend to do it by month, usually by quarter. I'll have some broad things to work on, but then the kind of specifics of it, I tend to just plan for, 1 to 3 months, because I just, a year is too long for me. And if I'm given a lot of time, I'll just end up pushing it off. And then come December, I'll just sit there and be like, oh, I haven't done anything this year, which by the way isn't true. It just feels like it because you haven't obtained that very broad goal that you've put yourself to mind. So I want to first tackle one of the most common art goals that I hear, especially also from my Discord, and we can kind of dissect it a little bit on how to maybe make it a little bit more tangible. So what I hear most frequently is that I want to draw every single day. Now, is that doable? Yes, but is it gonna help you with anything? Not really, because you're just gonna draw. What are you drawing? Why are you drawing? There's so many intricacies for this broad statement that end up kind of just confusing people and then hindering them in actually achieving what they want to draw for. A lot of times when people say they want to draw every day, they don't just do it for the sake of drawing. They would usually like to get better at art. So if you draw every single day to get better at art, then your goal isn't really to draw every single day. Your goal is to get better at art. Another reason I frequently hear for the drawing every single day goal is because people feel like they don't have time to draw. But here's the thing, if you already don't have time to draw, in your opinion, and then you just say that you're gonna draw every day, where are you gonna get that time from? Your problem is most likely time management. And that's something that I've really struggled with. I'm good at planning, but I'm not good at planning my time. But that's something that I've gradually learned over the last year. And I want to kind of give you an insight on if you're struggling with finding time to draw every day, and kind of how to sort that out a bit. So, sometimes I have to preface this with sometimes life just gets really busy and you might not genuinely have time to draw. The thing with drawing every single day is a lot of times people don't even mean to draw every single day. They just want to draw consistently. And consistency can be anything from every day to every 2 days, every week. So now what you have to figure out is not, can you draw every single day? It's what time do you have in your week that you can spend drawing? And the way that I've kind of approached this is by planning my day. So I'm in my senior year of high school right now, which basically means that between IB deadlines and uni applications and hours spent staring at the wall and spiraling, I feel like I don't have time for anything fun, including drawing, which kind of sucks because I want to do art as a profession, so I need to get better at art. So you see the kind of dilemma that I found myself in, right? And I think a lot of other people are struggling with that too. So I started planning my day from the second I come home to when I go to sleep. And that sounds really stupid, but here's the thing. A plan, you can still choose to not follow that plan. If something happens, you can always flex. Like no one except for you is holding you to that plan. But it really helps me to just plan my things. So my schedule right now looks like this. I come home between 4:30 and 5. So I give myself until 5, because depending on traffic, I might be home earlier or later. I give myself until 5 to just do whatever. If I want to sit on my phone and watch Instagram Reels, I can do that, but only until 5. If I want to make myself a little sweet treat, I can do that. So this is essentially like my wind down time frame. And it's different every single day, but it works for me. And then from 5 until 6:30, I work. I might do, depending on what work I do, I might do like a Pomodoro, or I'll just draw it all in one go. It always depends. And that's the thing with life. It always depends. Very little people have the very same routine in their life every single day. My workload varies day by day. Sometimes I have almost no work. Sometimes I have work that requires me to work the entire afternoon. But having a specific time slot for the work that I have to do is very helpful, because then when at 6:30 I go switch from like my homework and stuff to my writing work, I immediately am able to like mentally do that switch. So then from 6:30 until 7:30 I do my other work, and then I eat dinner, and then at like around 7:30 to 8 I'll end dinner, and then I'll usually study until 9 again. And mind you, right now that's like, so it's not permanent. It's my final year. I have to low-key lock in. But the thing is, if you give yourself time to, you can always spend more time. But if you plan yourself kind of excess time for the things like studying, for example, or, I mean, I don't know, I want to like to have a job, like a proper one. So you might not have home, like work at home, but if you do work from home, that might also be useful for you. If you kind of force yourself to have that time slot, you're going to start finding things to do, which if I spend an hour studying, regardless on if I have an hour worth of study materials, it's kind of gonna like equal out the workload that I have on like higher work days. So if you consistently follow that kind of schedule, you'll have less trouble sticking to it, because you'll have less, it's gonna feel like you have less work overall because it's more consistently spread out. So then from 9 until 11, I do art. So I know that every single day I have around 2 hours to do art. And that gives me kind of an estimate. Okay, I have 2 hours to do art every single day, times 5, that's 10 hours per week, plus the weekends. And then the weekends I don't really plan. Well, I plan the weekends like the day off. Like when I wake up, I'm like, okay, what do I have to do? But that's different because, once again, shit happens. Life varies. And I think throughout your goal setting and planning, you just have to remember that, like, it's fine if you can't stick to a plan. You shouldn't, like, art is fun and stuff, especially also if you want to do it professionally, but you shouldn't, sometimes it is just better to, go out to spend time with your friends, especially if you're like me in your last year of college, of high school, and everyone's going your, different directions. You're making memories and stuff like that is so important, and sometimes it's good to just take a break, even from art, or sign up for an art workshop or something like that. So 10 hours per week, that's like my first thing. So now I already know that I can draw consistently if I wanted to. This might look different for you. You might only have 2 hours per week, or you might only have an hour every 2 days. So once again, that's going to look different for everyone. But plan out your week, plan out your days, and estimate realistically, mind you, realistically. If you say I'm going to draw 5 hours every single day, good luck. You're not going to do that unless you're like some kind of art god, which most people aren't. like, it's better to just draw half an hour every single day than just have 1 5-hour drawing session twice a week. But sometimes that's all you got. So once again, things vary. So now that you kind of got your time slot on, I now know when I can draw. We're kind of going to the question on, okay, well, why, you can draw consistently now, but what do you actually want to draw? And that's when the actual goal setting comes. At least for me, this is where it starts. So I have some resolutions for this year, and by this year I mean just these are the things that I'm currently working towards getting better at. I want to get better at drawing like interiors and architecture, as well as using color. So those are like my 2 main things right now, and they actually go really well together. So there's different kinds of art skills. I feel like there's drawing, and then there's like the painting skills. So drawing is everything that's like to do with form and line construction and, character design. And then you have the more like painterly skills that are like light, shadow, values, color. And a lot of times it's good to have kind of 2 of these goals each from each category. And then there's a third category, which I'll get to later, because these 2 categories, they kind of allow you to simultaneously work on it. And you can treat this almost kind of like as a school curriculum. So I make myself curriculums. So right now I'm working on doing interiors. So I'm basically relearning all my perspective like skills, and then I learn, how to draw different furnitures and stuff like that, and also drawing like variations between furniture. So that's kind of like the more drawing aspect of what I'm trying to learn. And then I can kind of put this into test by, deciding to draw full interiors with different lightings, with different colors. So that's where like my secondary goal comes in, which is working with color. I can now place my characters and, create scenes. And then my third goal is I want to develop my witch school more, specifically come up with the locations and floor plans of my witch school. So this is a lot more intangible because that's going to be unique to everyone. You might want to make your webcomic about space rangers, so you might want to work on your spaceships more. You want to develop these kind of goals, they have a lot of writing or world building associated with them, which I usually find the more fun part. So these 3 goals I'm combining basically by saying, okay, I'm practicing interiors by designing classrooms, dungeons, shops, and kind of placing them in different lighting, and then I'll make it into full illustrations that I then can publish in a zine. So this is both me working towards my goals while also simultaneously creating the work that I'm passionate about creating. And passion is such a big key in setting your goals, because if you just say, oh, I'm going to become better at anatomy, and then you just draw hands over and over and over, that's not very fun. You're not going to have a lot of fun in doing that, versus I'm going to practice anatomy, so I'm going to practice, that might be your main goal, and then your secondary goal might be, I want to also get better at drawing clothes. So, you might draw out the poses, and then you might draw the clothes on top, and then have them be characters in your world. So you're combining your goals, and you're adding passion to them. And look, sometimes you really just need a study session. Sometimes I really just sit down, I pull up the Dorkastock website, and I just figure draw for like an hour and a half. They have a really good timer tool that I really recommend, and I'm also subbed to their Patreon, which is great, so highly recommend. But in the long term, it's better to combine your goals in a way that's going to keep you engaged, because at the end of the day, this is not like a school setting. No one's going to grade you. You didn't pay for the education, so a lot of times it's kind of hard to hold yourself accountable for that. No one's going to give you a bad grade if you don't do it. No one's going to, mark you absent on a register or something like that. So you really are the only person that's able to show up, and also the only person that's able to hold you accountable for it. And then you have to kind of find this like balance between holding yourself accountable but also being gentle to yourself. And that's something that I used to I used to have some like problems with like my iron and stuff, which basically means that I would be really, really tired when I came home from school. And some days I would come home from school with like a headache and it used to really hurt and I really did not feel well. And I would force myself to draw when I actually should have just slept it off. So, you know, don't be too harsh on yourself, but also, you know, sometimes I come home from school and I'm just like, I just want to play games on my phone. Let me go play Cookie Run on my phone for 8 hours because I can do that. So that's like a scenario where I have to be like, okay, Zoe, come on, do your work. So it's a hard balance and it's gonna take you a while to figure it out, but ultimately, you know, things work differently for everyone. So I always say be kind to yourself, especially if you have a lot of real world, you know, stuff that's kind of like following you around. Be kind to yourself. Art should be fun, even if you want to do it professionally. It's so hard to not lose your passion for art when you're in an academic setting or if you're actively working towards becoming a professional artist. Because the thing is, a lot of people, they want to work in the arts because they find it's so much more of a creative job. They're like, yeah, I could go into, I don't know, business or something. I could follow a more kind of linear career path, but I want to do something that brings me joy and brings me passion. And it is a lot of times a lot harder than just following a linear career path. So if you end up losing all your passion for art, then you might as well just, you know, do something else. So you don't want to do that, right? So that's why I think you have to learn when to lock in and when to kind of be nice to yourself and let yourself rest. I also want to quickly touch on like the curriculum aspect that I mentioned. Basically, the way I do it is I have like a general goal. So I look at, okay, I want to get better at color for environments because I want to have illustrations that convey a better mood. That's my goal. My goal isn't just getting better at color. You always need to have a why because otherwise it's really easy to lose track. Color is so broad. Getting better at color can also just be like, I want to get better at color mixing, which is also a very valid goal to have. So know why you want to do certain things. Why do you want to get better at anatomy? Being better at art is not a proper reason. Do you want to be better at art because you want to publish a webcomic? Because you want to start a business? Do you want to get better at art so you can get into art school or so you can get a job? Or do you just want to get better at art because you want your characters to look better when you draw them in your sketchbook? Even that's a valid reason because you just need a why. Because that why is going to help you evaluate what you have to do to get there. So my quote-unquote curriculum right now looks like this. So I'm revising my for my A goal, which is drawing rooms. I'm revising the basis was basically perspective, and then from basic perspective I went to drawing different types of furnitures and layouts. So I'm basically like, I've been drawing nightstands. I've been drawing like 10 different types of nightstands in perspective. And then stylizing those nightstands, coming up with my own things. Usually the way I do it is I study a bunch of different things and then I give myself prompts. So I have a lot of characters in my world. So I'm like, okay, well, I drew 10 nightstands now. So what would my character Ivy's nightstand look like? What would my character Helena's nightstand look like? So that's when you can kind of bring in your more imaginative thing. It's not worth it to learn skills if you can't really apply them in your goal. Like, it wouldn't make sense for me to just, like, you know what, I'm gonna learn how to do textile art. I love textile art. I think it's one of the most underrated forms of art ever, but it's not really gonna help me meet my goal for, becoming more employable in the field of concept art. Not that it's not a worthful skill to learn, it's just like, is this the most effective way to spend my time right now, right? So learn stuff that can help you. Sometimes drawing nightstands over and over can help me because you got the drawers, you got the legs, you can make you can make like a little like vanity out of it. It's just furniture. Drawing furniture helps me. So from then I will move on to, room layouts. So, positioning things in a room, making floor plans, and then kind of pulling them up and making them drawing rooms in an isometric or in a first person or a second person perspective. And that's kind of where my interiors kind of end. So now from there on I can always become more detailed, but now I have a good basis to work off of, which is where I bring in my secondary goal, which is color. So, you know, that might start just with, you know, limited color palettes. I'm going through a book called Color and Light from the 3D Total Publishing. There's also the other one by the guy that does dinosaur art, which is really good, but I'm focusing on digital art right now because that's the kind of career field that I'm hoping to get into. So that book is a little bit more tangible for me in sense of skills to learn. So I take notes throughout this book, and mind you, you don't have to go buy books. You can A, see if your library has anything, or B, there's so many online resources, even just here on YouTube. I would check out Mark Brunet. He has his YouTube art school. He has a lot of free videos, and they're really great. So yeah, you know, be resourceful. Google, do your research. I think Reddit always has these like master threads. So there's a lot of free stuff online, and I would totally make use of that if I was you. So now from color, I can, you know, I'll work with limited color palettes, and then, you know, creating mood. And once I've kind of got a good grasp on that, I can start combining my skills. So I can now draw my rooms in perspective and then color them, you know, choose proper color palettes for everything to convey a certain mood, and then go a step further and place my characters and bring in some like scenic lighting. So now I have basically like finished illustrations. I can do my art now the way I want to. And that's the thing, like, it's always nice to have the quote-unquote assignments that you give yourself already reflect the kind of art you want to do. It's not really useful for you to just practice drawing rooms you found on Pinterest when you want to learn how to draw rooms for your characters. Just go to that directly. You can always, you know, stay tangible with your studies, pull from real references, but if you're gonna spend all that time drawing things so you can do things later, when are you gonna have the time to actually do this? Because then you're always gonna feel like you're gonna have to study art forever. So use the work you want to do as an opportunity to study art and get better at it. So that's the way I would kind of structure it. Yeah, but then also sometimes, like, the way I do it is I do my studies and my curriculum like 3 to 4 days of the week, depending on how I'm feeling. Sometimes I have to do like academic work too for my IB art class. And then one of these days I'll just do a sketchbook session. And like, you can always draw more. Sometimes after 11, I'm like, you know what, I'm not really tired yet. Let me just draw until like 12 and then go to bed. So you can always draw more, but having a time slot set aside and knowing what you are going to do in that time slot is really what helps you. Because, yeah. And don't plan for the whole year. Don't plan for the whole year, guys. I'm going to be very honest with you. Plan for shorter periods of time so that you can kind of, you know, constantly evaluate yourself and reflect on what you can and can't do. Because then you can always change your goals and you're not going to feel like you're off track. Set yourself multiple art goals, and then for each month, give yourself one goal out of those. But don't just set yourself like 10 goals at the same time, because you're going to push all of these off. You're going to try for 2 weeks and you're going to be like, you know what, fuck this sucks. Oh, am I allowed to curse on here? Whatever. Anyways, so yeah, that's my recommendations on setting art goals. I should have given this heads up beforehand. Don't quote me on that. I'm an 18-year-old with a large mouth, so what I say might not be like top-tiered advice, but it's worked for me so far. And yeah, that's it. If you'd like to chat more about setting yourself art goals, how to stick to them, I have a Discord. The link is in bio. Yeah, we like to chat a lot about these kinds of things, and I tend to stream a lot to evenings my time. I always give my Discord like a heads up on the days that I'm streaming. So if you want to chat with me directly, I tend to be quite active in the Discord, so I'll most likely see your message. But if you want to like have a chat directly, or if you want, you know, like demos or something like that, I'm very much willing to chat with you about it, like on stream too, if you're interested in that. So, you know, might be worth checking it out. Come to say hi. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!